Shri Akal and hello to everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Famous Chehre with your host Ravneet, only on viimedia. For today's episode, I have someone from USA. She loves sharing compelling stories to the world and she found films and videos as a powerful medium to do it. She's been living in USA from so long and representing Sikh community there. Please welcome Harleen Kaur, director and filmmaker at Kaur Films. Sat Shri Akal, ma'am. Welcome to Famous Chehre, only on viimedia. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for this honor. I'm doing very well. How are you all?
Absolutely fine, ma'am. In the corona times, I hope you're taking care of yourself and the family, of course. And the
Thank
situation is fine in USA.
Hanji, everything is fine. Thank you so much.
Great, ma'am. So my first question to you, ma'am, that you have lived in India for so many years, in fact, in various cities across India, and you have completed your studies here in India. When and how you decided to move to USA and begin with your entrepreneurial journey? How it happened?
So, I'll just give you a backdrop. I grew up in an army background. My father was in the army. He retired as a brigadier. So we moved around India quite a bit. And I did my master's there. I started my journey with National Geographic Channel and the History Channel in India. So media was always there in me. And then I went on to do my MBA from the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. And while I was doing my MBA, I got a placement in Colgate in New York, and it was in marketing. So it was a great offer. So I just took it on and moved from India to the US.
Wow, great. And you have been living in USA from so long now, representing Sikh community there, making films around Sikh community. Making documentaries must have come from your work at History Channel and National Geography Channel because the concept of those channels were to create documentaries. So can I say that inspiration came from there only?
There was a mix of it. That's where it started. Kendedeki, that germ came from there.
Yeah,
And then when I started my, media journey and marketing journey here in the US, you saw, firsthand how marketing works, how media works in the US. But you also realized that there is a big, big void. There were no Sikh films around. There were no Sikh documentaries around. So there was a big void. And I clearly believe that, if we don't tell our own stories, nobody else will. So we need
absolutely.
to take that initiative, right? So that's how, while working at Colgate, then I switched on to another company in LA. And it was there that I felt that I want to do something in this space, media space with Sikhi. So this was the combination that I knew, and I didn't jump into documentaries straight away. The first thing that I did was I quit my job and I started to just understand Sikhi a little more, right? Because there is no way that one can just jump into something without research and education. So
Absolutely.
I started to educate myself. And then once I got a sense of things, then I started a podcast series on Sikh history. So
Yes, I was about to come on that question that you began with the Sikh podcast, Sikh history basically. So that inspiration came from through documentary. Like first you began with the podcast and then you moved on to documentaries, right? So let our viewers know about that particular podcast. I have seen that it has been downloaded in so many countries.
yes, so the first thing that we did was we did almost 2 years of research and then created a podcast series called Sikh History. Clearly, it can be downloaded from anywhere, and if you don't find a link, you can go to Kaurfilms.com and hear it. The idea was to have a more factual podcast where somebody who's just driving the car and needs something in 15-20 minutes, you get that information. So, and it's also not a Sakhi based podcast. It's very research based as to, what our Sikh gurus did and why did they do it. Because there were social economic setups that were there, and hence they took certain steps at that time, which were considered revolutionary. So
True.
for me, it was very important to understand, our own culture, our own history first.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
and
yeah, please go ahead, please.
and then once we did podcast at the time, we realized that while audio is very important, video kind of makes a better impact or creates an impact in somebody's mind. So the visual medium is very important, and hence we shifted from podcast at the time to documentaries.
And you have worked on two movies, if I remember. One was The Odd Couple, and the second one was Drawn Together. Please let our viewers know about all those two films that you have done. It was based on Sikh community only, right? Around the Sikh community.
Yes, I think there are lots of stories within our Sikh community that are waiting to be told. And my goal is to show positive Sikh stories. Somebody who's an inspirational character in the film, real life person who can inspire somebody to say that, hey, if he can do it, so can I.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So I've done two. I'm completing my third right now. So the idea for the first film was a lot of us feel that kai bari Sikh Swaroop, people think that it's a problem. How will I keep long hair and so forth. Uh,
Absolutely.
the
Then
story.
people even also say that there are so many restrictions. I mean, I've heard people saying that there are so many restrictions if there is someone who wants to believe into, and not just believe into Sikhism, but also follow all the rituals that are there in Sikhism.
Yes,
So
and I think
yeah,
a lot of it is mental. We
yeah,
think there is a problem, and hence there is a problem.
yeah.
If we think that the problem is doesn't exist, then we
There
can
won't be a
actually
problem.
overcome.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's all
uh,
psychological.
yes. So in this case, also, this person wanted to become a triathlete, and there were certain challenges that he faced. And he thought that he cannot overcome those challenges until he meets another person who is an amputee by choice. And once he meets the other person and he says that, he has actual physical challenges and yet he's actually competing at the highest level. So, what is stopping me? I don't have any problems. So that kind of changes his life, and he goes on to complete a lot of triathlons. So it was around sports as a theme. And the next film, which is called Drawn Together, which went on to about 52 international film festivals, won lots of awards, and it was also shown on PBS in the US. This film is about stereotypes. It's about challenging racism and stereotyping. And the way we did it was we took a backdrop of comics, because it's a very serious topic. Now, if you tell somebody that you are a racist person or you are judging me, people don't take it well. So you had to talk to people in a language that they understood, and also in a way that has a little bit of humor.
Yeah,
And
just to
comics
convey the
really.
message to the people, you added humor to that.
Yes, and comics as a language, transcends borders, transcends languages, age groups, and so the idea of the film was to show three protagonists who are very different in how they look. There's a woman, there's a Sikh cartoonist, and then there is an African American. So on the face of it, probably nothing is common, but actually they were all stereotyped while growing up, and face stereotyping on a day-to-day basis, and how they used comics and cosplay to actually overcome those stereotypes. That was the film, and it was extremely well received. It's also being showcased in almost about 100 educational institutions in the US. So there is an awareness that's really happening there.
So great. Now it's 2021. You must have made this film, I think, back in 2018, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, 2018. So in 2021, or in fact in 2018, is there still racism there when it comes to Sikh community? Like it still exists on that level that you had to create such kind of a movie to escalate that thing, that racism is still there when we talk about Sikh people living there? Basically, the South Asian community people living there, are they still suffering from it?
Racism and stereotyping exists. It exists in our own communities as well. We all, as human beings, we judge people. We'll say, okay, there's a woman who's, she's pregnant, she can't do this. If there is a bad driver on the road, it has to be a woman.
Yeah.
He's a Bengali, he's like this. We all have these notions in our minds, right? The idea is to just show them that it's not right to just box people without even knowing them. You don't know the person who's walking on the road, but you're just
Absolutely.
making all your judgments, right?
Yeah.
So it exists everywhere, not just in the US. Everywhere it exists. But the idea is to just show that, hey, let's not judge person.
Yeah.
Let's just get to know them, and then
Nailed.
make an informed decision, right?
True. So kudos to you. The work that you have done, it was very important, I must say. Not in specifically in US, but around the world, we have to get over this thing and not judge people. So great effort by your team and the work that you had done. Now coming on to another movie that you are doing currently, it's Good Luck Julia, right? It's based on COVID-19 crisis. How you decided to incorporate COVID-19 crisis into a movie? How all that happened and when is it coming?
Um, so this film really happened very organically. I was personally involved in it, and it was around April of last year. We I got a call. Rather, my husband got an email from one of his colleagues in Spain, and that colleague said, one of his uh, friend's daughter is actually stuck in a city called Nagpur, and she needs to reach Bombay. This was Monday morning here, Monday evening in India, and she has to reach Bombay by Thursday to catch the last evacuation flight. And India had started with their extreme lockdown at the time, and there was no way to get her to Bombay. So the film is about how Julia, a teenager from Spain stuck in Nagpur, how a family based in the US, a Sikh family based in the US, helped her finally reach her parents in Spain on time for Easter celebrations.
So it happened all from the true experiences to your movie now. You have added
Yes,
your true experience to the movie, right?
yes. I mean, documentary is all about real life stories, and in this
Yeah.
case, again, there was a Sikh link, right? We wanted to show how a Sikh family went out of their way. And it's a film also about humanity because not just the Sikhs, where she was staying in India, it was a Gujarati Hindu family, Maharashtrian Hindu family, how they all helped. A complete stranger get to a point where she can actually be with her family during COVID. So it's a story about humanity, it's about trust, relationships, and also it's all about coming together at a crisis mode.
And
So
support each other, help each other during the crisis.
yes,
Absolutely amazing. Great to know, ma'am. And when is it coming out? Is it going to come on OTT platforms? Where is it going to release?
we are still doing our final edits, and hopefully by May, I would say that the film should be ready. Not sure about the OTT platforms right now, but certainly festivals is where it'll go first.
Okay, great. Now that we have talked about COVID-19 crisis, from last 1 year, everybody is working from home. The world has become virtual. So was it fruitful for your business to go through this kind of lockdown and everything happening virtually, or was it challenging for the filmmaking industry, according to you?
So film, so there are two aspects to it, right? One is the creative aspect, where you actually can go and shoot a film, and one is the distribution part of it, right?
Yeah,
So from a creative point of view, I think there were challenges
there were
because we
challenges.
really couldn't step out of the
Yeah,
home, right? I had to shoot in Spain. I just couldn't. I had to shoot like last month, because the permissions were not granted, and so on and so forth. So there was a challenge when it comes to creating things.
creative part.
Yes, but at the same time, a lot of other things kind of came together. So you realized how you can virtually connect, how I can talk to my editor on a daily basis virtually versus going and meeting him and sitting with him,
Yeah.
how we can make music online, So there were things that we all learned that, yes, while physically meeting each other, discussing your project is important, but it's also important to actually, do things regardless of the situation. So,
Situation.
yes. So,
COVID-19 has actually made a lot of people learn a lot of things while sitting at home and completing all the works. So yeah,
yes.
great. Kudos to
And
that also. Yeah, please go ahead. Let our viewers know. We really want to hear each and everything from you because filmmaking is another part which needs to be heard by people, by our viewers also. So please go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
no, this is
Yeah,
great. The other part is distribution, right? So films which have a theatrical release and they want the society or people, their viewers, to watch it in a theater, those people did not have that much of luck. However, thanks to Netflix and Amazon and all the other OTT platforms,
yeah,
this was also a blessing in disguise because a lot of
absolutely.
people.
My
Um,
another question is absolutely based on that only. That now we have talked about digital media. So you being a part of filmmaking industry, do you think that OTT is now a new cinema? Every other movie is releasing on OTT platforms. So according to you, is it the new cinema that people are going to watch all the movies from now onwards on OTT platforms if such kind of crisis arrives?
Yeah, so I think OTT also you'll have to look at it from a various point of view. OTT did not come like overnight. So
Yeah,
if you look at it, that there were sort of three, four aspects. One is filmmaking has actually changed. There were simple stories earlier, and now you have VFX and so many other things that are added.
added.
Secondly, if you look at theaters, it was a single screen theater that people went to, and now there are multiplexes with all kinds of sounds, reclining seats. So that experience has also changed.
True.
And in terms of viewing, yes, OTT has come in. Why? Because people are looking for convenience. They are looking at, I'm going to watch a film at 9:30 at night. I can't go at 6 o'clock in the evening. um, and I don't want to take my kids along as well. So what do I do? So Netflix and all the other OTT platforms become my go-to at that point, right?
And it's also
So
very convenient. The major
yes,
thing is the convenience, of course.
yes, and television per se has also changed. You have different screens now
Yeah,
with the mobile penetration in India specifically. Everybody has access to internet, and so watching a film on the phone is far easier right now versus what it happened maybe 10 years back. They just couldn't. So internet coming off these big television sets, all of this has contributed to the growth of OTT. And
true.
once that OTT platform is now, you've tasted it, now a lot of people want to just stick with it. However, it's not that the films on theater would be dead. No, you would want to watch an Avengers or a suspense film or
To
something
get
which has
those to
speed.
get those big screen effects, one has to go to theaters.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I think it'll come back. But I think as filmmakers, we have to earn that back from the viewers. That hey,
yeah.
why should you go to a theater to watch my film? That has to be very, very clearly articulated, and the viewer should understand. For this film, I'm going to go there
And
because
somewhere the creativity also needs to increase. If you really want to convince a viewer to go to theater to watch a movie, of course you have to work on the creative part as well to,
yes,
bring the audience back to the theaters. True.
yes, because going to a theater is all about experience. So you have to, message that experience very well. That you need to come to the theater to watch this film because of XYZ reasons. And that's how people would, once everything is over and we are back to normal, that's when people would come back to theaters.
Yeah, true. So now that we have talked about OTT world, digital media and everything, podcasts are also very trending these days. It's a very great source of informative content, to get informative content. So are you planning to come back to podcast? Are you planning to come up with any project on the podcast series?
Yes. So I think podcast is actually going to grow. Why? Again, because of a few things. From the creative standpoint, I think a lot of people would like to just get onto this bandwagon of podcasts, sharing their views through audio. a lot of people are not comfortable with visual medium either. So they
Yes,
just, think audio is fantastic. I don't have to show my face and people just get to know me.
absolutely.
Um, Second is, in terms of content, there are lots of different avenues of topics that one wants to hear. So there is no dearth of that on podcast.
Yes,
I think there's some research that almost a quarter of the U.S. population, hears a podcast every month, every week. Sorry,
absolutely.
so people are getting
So
onto it.
just like OTT platforms, there is a subscription to podcast also on various podcast platforms. So yeah,
Yes. And the third is advertising. So on podcast network, usually an advertiser, it's not like a 15-30 seconds, it's usually like a 90-second thing. So what happens is you have an audience which is captive audience. They are listening to you and listening to you from any location, not just from their homes, but while they're driving or anywhere else. And you can also multitask while listening to something.
absolutely.
So advertisers as well are putting in like 90 second advertisements on a podcast. So it's beneficial for all people
From the
involved.
business perspective also, it's
Yes, so
benefit.
creators, viewers or listeners, and the advertisers all benefit from this platform.
Absolutely. So you didn't mention what is the project, next podcast project you are coming up with.
This will be after the film towards later half of the year, and once sort of we have aligned. Again, it's going to be somewhat related to Sikhi. There has to be an element like on that for sure, but we'll announce it towards the later half of the year.
Great. We'll be looking forward to it. So you always aspire to connect to the youth growing up in diverse societies. Do you have any message that you would want to give to the youth out there?
My message is always that what we need to do is we need to stay positive. And somehow in our society we start thinking negative things, we will end up with something which is negative. So it's better that we all think positive. We always have this can do attitude. I can do it. There is a challenge, I can
Of
overcome
course.
that. And
Yeah,
that's the main thing. And there's something that the gurus have always given us, that you should always stay in chardi kala.
absolutely.
So I think that's the other message, that no matter what, stay in Chardikala spirit always. And, always help out somebody. This little thing on seva, you're going for a vaccine. Can you carry a few chocolates around that you'll probably see a homeless person on the way? You can give them. There's an Amazon delivery person who comes home. Can you offer him a packaged, let's say, a biscuit packet or a
A very
cake?
little small effort is required and you could do a lot. So true.
Yes, I think we just have to look for these little nuggets, and I think we can all contribute back to the society. Like for example, all of you are doing such a wonderful job with your channel. It's like, yes, maybe distances are there, but can we
Absolutely.
still make a program? Can we still talk to people? Can we still reach out to our viewers? We can all do that. So it's all about finding the right path, and if there is a block there, find another path. Just go on,
There's
carry on.
always going to be another way towards
Absolutely.
towards everything that you wish to have. That's
Yeah.
true. So apart from filmmaking and everything, what do you enjoy doing the most? Apart from making documentaries, releasing podcasts, what do you enjoy doing the most?
I think I'm a very people's person. So I, enjoy meeting people, and these days talking to people and hearing their experiences. I'm also a mother. I have two daughters, 7 and 5. So these days it's all about talking to them. And since we don't allow television for them, it's all about learning new things. Be it quilling, be it, in 5D drawing, be it drawing with gold foil. So there are lots of activities that I'm doing with
DIYs
them.
basically that
Yes,
one could do at home.
yeah, you have to keep the kids engaged. If not television or screens, then what do you do? So you have to keep looking out for options that keep them engaged and also brings out their creativity. So that's what I keep doing.
Great. We spoke about digital media, OTT podcast. I think I've missed one thing, which is web series. Web series is another thing that is very very much in trend these days. So is there any thought behind Kaur Films that you would come up with a new web series maybe somewhere in the future?
Somewhere in the future, yes. I think web series is like this big initiative that one has to take, and it requires good funding as well. So right now, I don't think I'm at a stage where I can initiate a web series. Ideas are there. However, in terms of execution, it requires a long or large bandwidth, which I don't have currently. But if there is a producer that comes along, and if there is a bigger team that comes along, we can execute something. Also, I would like to mention that, when we are in this creative space and there are very few Sikhs around, we should all help and support each other. If there
Absolutely.
is an artist, if there is somebody who's a photographer, if there is somebody who can do camera work, we should just support each other. Like, this is how I did it, this is how you can do it. This is a website which is great, why don't you check this out? I think we have to pull each other up so that we can all progress in the right manner, because sometimes
Absolutely.
what happens is, you are very contained. You feel that, I have done it, I worked hard, why should I tell somebody
Why
else?
should I tell some? True.
That should
I
not
would say
happen.
that one of the major reason why we have organized such interview based shows, because we also want to convey a message to the audience out there that we have people around us who are working in various respective sectors, and we need to have a look at them also. So that's one of the motive of this show as well. That's why I decided to have you on the show, so that your journey, your work should also be heard by the people. Of course, you are very much you are a very big name in the USA and also in India, but still there are few people out there who needs to listen to our story, our side of story. So we are so happy to have you, and we would keep doing it. We would keep calling people like you on the show, so that we could also add to what you have just mentioned, that we need to support each other. So thank you so much. My last segment is going to be the fun rapid fire. I would be asking you a few questions, and you have to answer whatever comes in your mind first. So should we begin?
Sure.
Okay. So what's the toughest thing about being a filmmaker?
Finances, money.
Well, great. True, which needs to be heard. And if a film was made on your life, who do you wish should direct it?
Shekhar Kapoor.
Oh, wow. The last good film you have watched that you recommend to others?
I have watched quite a few documentaries, but just a few days ago we saw Kapoor and Sons, and it was a fun little film that we watched. It had drama, it had suspense, and it was a beautiful thing. So we just loved it, and yeah, I'd like people to watch it.
Great. So maximum number of retakes you have ever taken for a shot, if there's any, also share a story behind it.
I've not taken too many retakes, but I think when I was shooting for Drawn Together, and when you talk to the protagonist and when they're narrating a story, you just feel like they should just carry on. So there were quite a few instances. One, I think, Vishwajit was walking on the road here in San Francisco, and people kept staring at him because he was dressed as Captain America.
Yes, yes. I have seen that video. It got viral also on so many platforms. Yes.
Yeah, a Sikh, with a turban and a beard, looking like a Captain America. People were, amazed actually. And we kept shooting. We just told him, keep walking, because we just want to see the reactions of people. And that was a very interesting one. And then one of the other protagonists in the film, Keith Knight, he's an African American. And he was narrating a few stories of how he was stereotyped and judged. And I remember, like, we kept shooting, and then at about 9 minutes or so, my camera person said cut. Usually a director says a cut. So the camera person said cut, and I said, why? Like, why are you stopping? And he says, the battery is over, so wait. But
It
because
was
I was,
that
yeah,
great part of the movie that you didn't want to stop. Wow, amazing. So if not a filmmaker, who would you be?
I would be a motivational speaker, I feel.
Wow, great.
Because I love to talk to people. And there was also a dream once upon a time to join the army, because my grandfather was in the
Father was
British Army, my uncles were there, my father was there. So there was this dream, but it never came through.
Definitely, you have motivated a lot of us, a lot of youngsters like me, and also I hope the viewers who are watching us have also been motivated by your thoughts and the work that you have done. So thank you so much for being a part of Famous Chehre on viimedia, and it was great having you. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as we did. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much to you and for doing such a wonderful job, and carry on with the great work. You guys are doing excellent work. Bring on more people, and
Absolutely.
also maybe have interactive sessions so that if there are any questions out there, we can all answer. Thank you so much for the
Definitely.
opportunity.
Definitely. Thank you so much. ਤੇ ਇਹ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਰਲੀਨ ਕੌਰ all the way from USA. We spoke about films, documentaries, digital media, OTT world, web series, and much more. I hope you have enjoyed this show as much as we did. If you are someone who have achieved something in the life and you want your story to be heard by people, do write to us at viimediatv.com. We will connect with you and ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ story ਲੋਕਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਵਾਂਗੇ. Thank you so much for watching. This is your host Ravneet signing off for now.